Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
All right, so I caught this article right as we were getting ready to start the show. Apparently, Netflix is being sued for $105 million over an unreleased Nicolas Cage movie. World War II drama called Fortitude.
If there's a Nicolas Cage movie that's too batshit to release, then...
Well, the reason it's not releasing is what's funny is because the studio requested from the producers just to give them an unencrypted master copy of the movie, and it's been lost/stolen. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, if only there were somebody, a hero, who could help find this national treasure.
I was going to say, it sounds like the plot of a Nicolas Cage
The sequel
movie.
writes itself. But this is not a Netflix or Nicolas Cage podcast. It's Cinema Chop Shop. Welcome. It's been 3 weeks since we've been here. Last time we were together, we were watching Despiser on a watch party. Hope you checked that out.
My sincere apologies to anyone who fired that puppy up to watch it with us.
I'm your host, Shawn. I'm joined today by Joey Poole.
Hello.
Todd.
Howdy.
And our special returning guest, Allie.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you for sitting in. Travis Cito decided he did not want to participate in this episode, which is dark fantasy.
Is he an anti-dark fantasy guy?
I don't
or
He likes light fantasy.
I guess he likes his fantasy light. So yeah, dark fantasy, deep cuts is the proper name of the episode. So what kind of got me thinking about this, I was kind of turned on to a couple of films that we'll be discussing today, and it made me just say, well, let's just craft an episode around it. But dark fantasy was really kind of a big deal in the early 80s. Dragon Slayer, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, even The Legend to a degree, and
Excalibur.
those kinds of films really paved the way for a lot of others, which kind of, in my opinion, peaked with the Guillermo del Toro dark fantasy, landing him an Oscar, for The Shape of Water.
I was going to say Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, of course, was very much of that ilk as well, probably more so than any other. But in terms of getting global recognition for the genre, I think that Guillermo del Toro kind of is the master of this. But what we wanted to do this week is kind of dig a little deeper and go for some of these cuts that most people may not have seen or heard about, at least in the United States. That kind of got my wheels turning and doing a little bit of research on some films. I watched a lot of dark fantasy that we're not even going to talk about today. Like 1978's Beauty and the Beast. It's like a German, maybe Polish film where Beast, instead of being your typical mammal-based, like lion-based beast character, he's more bird-like, and it's very cool.
That has to complicate their sex life somehow.
It does.
Right? Have you ever seen birds do it?
I don't think they have sex until he's trans.
Yes, he doesn't want him. He doesn't want her to see him until she falls in love with him.
I guess we know what kind of movie I want to see.
Okay, we talked about Return to Oz.
Glimpse there, Derry.
We talked about Return to Oz when we talked about the fucked up Disney episode.
So weird.
A very bizarre film, and
something wicked this way comes.
Tale of Tales from 2015 with John C. Reilly and Selma Hayek. A strange movie. Kind of like a little anthology, which also another anthology would be like Company of Wolves, kind of in the early 80s, falls into that category, this psychosexual retelling of the Little Red Riding Hood myth with Angela Lansbury playing the grandmother role.
Based on stories by the great Angela Carter as well. One of my favorite writers.
Valerie and Her Week of Wonders from 1970. I watched that one. That's a strange one if you've never checked it out. I would say definitely give it a go. But I ultimately landed for our feature segment on a film from 2018. It's an Indian film that started out as kind of an independent feature, but it has gained international acclaim because it got re-released in theaters in the United States and other countries in like 2021, 2022. And the film is called Tumbad. It's got an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's directed by Rahi Anil Barva. I will butcher these names. starring, Soham Shah, Mohammed Samad, Jyoti Malshi, Anita Date, and Deepak Dami.
Anita Date.
I hope I got somewhere close to that. In this 20th century rural India, a man named Vinayak Rao becomes obsessed with extracting a hidden gold treasure buried beneath a decaying estate in the perpetually rain-drenched village of Tumbad. The fortune is guarded by Hastar, a horrifying, banished deity who was erased from history for his ravenous greed. Spanning 3 decades, the story follows Vinayak and his as he repeatedly descends into a terrifying, womb-like subterranean vault to steal gold coins directly from the monster's presence. A dangerous ritual of avarice that ultimately threatens to consume his sanity, his family, and his legacy. What do we think about this movie?
I thought it was wonderful. I don't watch a whole lot of movies alone. But my wife and my kid were out of town, and I watched this one on the couch. I didn't really know what I was getting into, so I watched this one on the couch in my boxers with a sixer of
Did you soil
hazy little thing or something, and it was a really weird experience. And it was I'm a jaded horror veteran. I don't get scared, but it was unsettling.
The grandmother was particularly.
I was gonna say this doubles down on the dark fantasy so much that it kind of delves into body horror.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love this movie. I thought it was great.
Well, and it's it's that mythology and folklore part of fantasy, right?
And like a lot of folklore, the lessons are actually quite simple.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yes.
It's because it's never enough. He actually, the 1-2 gold coins, he's actually got plenty.
Yes.
But he keeps going back anyway, which ends up negatively affecting his relationships, his health, his well-being.
And what was that quote at the very beginning? There's enough for our need, but not enough for your greed.
Yeah, from Gandhi. Yeah.
And that's the heart of this film.
It has all of the earmarks of a classic fairy tale, a Grimm's fairy tale kind of thing, with a very simple lesson, like you said, Todd, to be learned. And I don't know if this was made up for the film, or is this part of some sort of
folklore.
Indian folklore? Again, ignorant American, sorry, but it definitely had a ring of truth to it, in my opinion, because it was so simple. It's about generational greed.
Yep.
And my God, generational greed, how topical and timely is it to talk about that right now, about families who can't say no to getting more cash.
Exactly. Yes. Including the most powerful people in the country.
Of course, absolutely.
Who use the office of the presidency as their own piggy bank. But.
So you talked about the creepy grandmother. I mean, right out of the gate, you've got the first part of the family that we learn about, and that is the mother whose husband has disappeared, jaunted off, or whatever reason. He's still obsessed with the gold. The son is kind of aiding the sons are aiding their mother as she takes care of grandmother, who is in a perpetual state of sleep-ish. Sort of.
Well, she has been touched and therefore cannot die. So she's in a perpetual state of decomposition without ever being able to die. But they say the phrase that puts her to sleep.
Right.
But she wakes up. When she does wake up, she's ravenous.
Ravenous, yes. And that's the goal, is to kind of keep her pacified while they feed her and clip her toenails.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is a movie that the very first scene is a very disinterested hand job, and then the second scene is the worst pedicure you've ever seen. I said sort of like
not for you foot fetishists out there.
Yeah. Unless you're
It's
really
not
into
depends
It's not
on
a
what you're
Quentin
after.
Tarantino.
in feet,
You're into,
It's not of the Quentin Tarantino variety, though.
Well, and that the other thing is the flip side of the myth. The goddess mother supplied endless coin, wealth, and endless food. And the food is the wealth is represented by coin. The food is represented by wheat. So the mother, what she's ravenous for is wheat, right? That grain. That because this god that was to stole all the coins got stopped before he got to steal all the grain. So he's still hungry. So his greed is manifest and still trying to get all the grain, and that's the heart of their the drive and their weakness.
I kind of saw it as like a parable about men being driven by capitalist greed to just exploit the earth itself and all the women around them. The women in this movie get treated horribly.
Oh yeah.
And then the fact that, and maybe Allie, you maybe speak to this a little more than I can, but like the fact that like we have, like I said, 2 actual extended scenes that literally take place inside of an earth goddess's womb. Mm-hmm. That just seems like that's fraught for interpretation as well.
And that room was so creepy. It kind of reminded me of like Hellraiser a little bit. That raw flesh kind of feel. Jumping ahead a little bit into that when we first see the room of where the deity exists. But I say the brothers because early on one of the brothers dies from an accident, which the mother has to take the son. This is in like 1918, is that right? Where it started?
It's
it's at the
India's
precipice.
Still a colony.
Yes, it's the precipice of British colonization and England and Indian independence.
It's right on that cusp.
She has to leave in the midst of feeding the grandmother. So it's up to the son to do this, which is where I think the temptation to learn more.
Well, because the mother's just been taking care of the grandmother, and the son immediately goes into how can I exploit the situation to find out where the treasure is from this entity.
And so we start this whole process of him getting down into the womb and tricking the deity with the dough baby. Is that it's been 3 weeks since I've watched it, but the dough baby that they throw it out as bait and he's filled with the wheat, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
The dough baby's made out of wheat.
Right, okay, and that's what he's ravenous for. So while he's distracted,
while he's eating it, you get to sneak up behind him and take the coins out of
his fanny pack.
They do very inefficiently.
Yes,
just fling it open and try to catch it. I'm like, I don't know why you can't.
Somebody raised the question about why couldn't they just snap the belt off of him and just take the whole pouch?
Well, and that's what the kid, his son,
said to
do.
Then that's
speaking of which, when his father made the sacrifice to save his son when they realized that their plan was screwed up, and he had the loincloth to give to his kid, and the kid rejected it, and I'm like, well, you just made his sacrifice worth nothing.
You're talking about at the
end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the room itself looks really cool. The deity looks really cool. It's one of those things where it's like there's some CGI going on, and it like, because it was independent, it almost got a little cheesy, but boy, they really did a good job of working with what they had to make it look visceral and real and creepy. Like you said, Joey, it just kind of has that real creep factor to it. As you can well imagine, getting the money, getting your riches, as Todd said, would be kind of enough to keep you happy and healthy and wealthy. Oh, no. We fast forward to...
Well, and there's even a scene with the father and the son about that. The father opens up the safe to show the son how much he's actually collected. And the son is like, well, that's enough to be very comfortable. And he says, you're just like my mother.
Right.
Because the father always wanted more. And that is one thing when I was saying he kind of made the father's sacrifice worth it by not worth it by not taking the loincloth, but at the same time that was the moment where he rejected that cycle of greed.
So we fast forward in the film to the boy as an adult. He has his wife, he has his mistress, he has his son, the son's daughter. I can't remember who all he had in his family, but anyway,
he had daughters.
He's established and he has enough, but it's not enough. And he has a friend who wants to also get in on the deal.
Well, that's who he would bring the coins to and get it exchanged for cash.
Right.
And that guy wants the source.
Yes, and then of course the whole time you've got the background information of the British colonists and what have you. They're all trying to broker some sort of deal to everyone's advantage.
Yeah, I was going to say the friend is
English sergeant or whatever.
Yeah. The friend is being very much pushed into it by one of the British officials, and then ends up paying for his own greed.
So we start to train the son, that our now adult main character, starts to train his son and take him on practice runs to get him accustomed to the dangers involved in the womb room. And things don't go well right out of the gate.
Nope.
And I think it was kind of weird, because not really weird. The now new young son kind of got a charge out of the danger.
Yeah, he saw his father as being fearless. He wanted to be just like his father.
He really got off
and he
on
was,
it. He
and
liked
so
it.
he felt he had to prove himself as the next generation.
So much
the heir.
so that he kind of walked with a little bit of swagger and said he was going to take Dad's mistress for his own. I mean, this kid kind of was cocky as all hell.
And he was, what, 12, 13?
Not
the kid?
if that. And he's there dick swinging, talking about taking Dad's mistress.
He won't last forever, then I'll be the man of the house.
Right. That's the kind of the way he was looking at it. So, as you can imagine, with this fairy tale kind of thing of greed, the son kind of has the idea that, well, why don't we bring 2 wheat babies? Because we can give him
So
more. It'll give us more time.
So
It'll give us more time to
basically,
collect the coins.
The
yeah?
entity comes down, he takes the baby, and while he's preoccupied by eating it, that's when they take the coins. So he's like, if we put out more babies, he's going to spend more time eating those, so we have more time to get more coins.
So let's make a lot of babies, and let's just carry them all down with us. Either you saw it coming or you don't. If you didn't see it coming,
I did
like
not
me,
see it coming. Did you see it coming, Joey?
I did not.
So they go down there. They throw out the second baby, and then from behind Hoston, another one appears from behind him. There are 2 babies, therefore there must be 2 deities.
So for every baby, there's another
So
monster.
now they're down in the womb, and they've got these 50 babies that they've made. And guess what, folks? We've got a whole womb full of evil demons.
And there's kind of that witchcrafty thing. That instead of a salt circle, there's a wheat circle around them that protects them. That they can't cross. They can't.
It's
cross
literally
over that.
a force field. Like they can
it's a
duck
dome.
down into it and they bounce off of it. But with those kind of overwhelming numbers, they're fucked.
Yep.
So that's where the dad sacrifices himself. He ties all the babies to himself and climbs up the rope.
Ends up cursed just like the grandmother at the beginning of the film.
So you have a full circle moment, and the son really didn't learn a damn thing.
No,
at the end of the day.
I don't necessarily agree with that because
You don't?
I think that's the moment where, I mean, like I said he kind of made the father's sacrifice not worth it by not taking the loincloth, but by not taking that loincloth, I think that demonstrated him breaking the cycle.
Okay.
Yeah,
He could
I
have
agree.
kept the father alive
Okay.
and had the father be basically his control him, and he could have taken all those coins, but by mercifully killing his father and by not taking the coins, I think that signaled breaking that
So we've ended
greed
it. Okay.
cycle. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but
I do
Yeah.
agree, but I would question: do you have to be poor to learn the lesson? Could you not learn the lesson but still take the coins?
but I know.
Well,
And that's why I'm like, he could take the
Or
coins.
a couple of them.
But he also knows how much money is back at the house because his
That's
father had
true.
shown him.
Yeah.
That's
You know.
right. Yeah.
One thing we
Yep.
should mention about the town of Tumbad is that it's just rain drenched, and boy, what a cool atmospheric for this movie. It's just this decrepit, decaying castle.
Well, it's like a ghost town. Like it's
and
an
this
empty
town. And there was a point in the movie when the Indian independence is declared that the town of Tumbad was going to be divided up among like 6 or 7 barons, right? And he has like a freak out moment, like, well, what about my castle, my domain? And they're like, well,
Yeah.
you know, you'll have access.
It's run down. We'll get you a better one.
Right.
Nicer one here.
Yeah.
That belongs to the government now.
I thought this movie was cool. It's a very simple film. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot to follow along,
Yep.
which speaks to its inherent resonance with what we all know about greed. It just has that almost like a Rumpelstiltskin kind of thing to it. Or the goose that laid the golden egg. It has that kind of feel to it.
Oh, King Midas.
King Midas, very good. So, fun facts. I did Travis's fun facts for us. Fun fact
Alrighty.
on this movie. The film took 6 years to shoot, largely because the filmmakers refused to use artificial rain machines. They insisted on shooting only during the real torrential downpours of the monsoon season, meaning production had to wait out 4 actual monsoon seasons in Maharashtra to capture the movie's drenched, suffocating atmosphere.
Huh. Interesting.
Other fun fact: the terrifying tree root covered grandmother in the chest was actually played by Muhammad Samad, the young actor who plays Vinayak's son.
Whoa!
Yeah,
I did not pick up on that.
He underwent hours of heavy prosthetic makeup for the role.
It's kind of like in X with what's her name playing both the old lady and the younger.
Yes.
Where I had no clue
yeah.
until I found out later.
Yep. This movie's cool. If you haven't seen it, I would say check it out. I believe it's available for streaming on Tubi.
I think it's on Tubi or Roku channel or one of those.
I think it's Amazon Prime.
Video,
or Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime Video.
So yeah, check this one out. It's neat. It's only an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes or so, which is really short for an Indian film. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with Indian films, sometimes they can go on for 3+ hours.
Oh yeah.
So this one is a short one. So check it out. It's cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, I dug it a lot. I thought it was neat, and I'm glad I went with this one as our feature because it is a good lead off for this kind of dark fantasy deep cut. With that, I'm going to say we're going to take a break, but not before we say,
let's all go to the lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some
wheat.
Some wheat would be good.
Crystal
Wheat
meth.
babies.
Sorry, that's dark crystal.
That is dark.
Dark crystal meth.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. Joey was the lone soul who peed in the yard. I elected not to, as did Todd, and Allie is sitting right here. So we're going to soldier on into the second half of our show where we talk about our individual picks. And Joey, you are first.
So I chose 1995's The City of Lost Children, which is a French film directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who did 2 very different movies, Amélie
And Mark Caro.
Well, I'm getting there. Amélie and Alien Resurrection, and those seem like 2 very polar opposite types of films. And this one, honestly, though, is kind of like splits the difference between those 2 things. As Todd said, it was also co-directed by Mark Caro, who has done not as much, he's not as prolific, but he and Jeunet did Delicatessen.
That's
together.
I love that movie. Very good movie, and it's kind of similar aesthetically to City of Lost Children.
Somewhat, yeah.
Got a steampunk sort of aesthetic to it.
So, City of Lost Children is about a mad scientist who kidnaps children in order to steal their dreams so that he can stave off growing old. And that's a very short, 1-sentence elevator pitch synopsis, and it does not do this movie justice. There's so much happening in this movie.
Yeah.
It's not particularly long. It's longish, maybe 2 hours or so. But if I did the Travis style, rehash of the entire plot, we'd be here for 3 days because so much happens and there's so many permutations.
It's very dense.
So the villain here is played by a Chilean actor who's one of those people that you've seen before, but you'll never be able to place him. His name is Daniel Immelfork. His name is Crank here in the movie, and he is a mad scientist who... I don't think I caught this the first time I watched the movie, but I caught it on my sort of half-ass rewatch today. He's a mad scientist, but he's actually the creation of another mad scientist who has left or is dead and gone or whatever. So that's an interesting little twist. He lives in a compound which is in an abandoned oil rig. The set on that is amazing, by the way. And he lives with a host of his own creations. There are these 6 kind of childlike, almost mute cloned dwarves. There is a female dwarf named Martha, and there is a disembodied brain because no mad scientist movie is complete without a disembodied brain.
And the disembodied
named
brain
Irvin.
also, and it kind of taunts. It's the only entity that kind of taunts and puts the mad scientist in his place, Crank.
Yeah, he's very manipulative from his little watery tank.
Yeah.
So Crank is, for whatever reason, created this way. He's unable to dream, which in this universe makes you age very prematurely.
He can't cry either. Am I right about that?
I believe, yeah, he cannot cry or dream. And he enlists this is where it starts getting, very convoluted. He enlists a cyborg cult of blinded men that the cult's known as the cult of the Cyclops, to kidnap children so that he can steal their dreams. And the way that he steals their dreams is through this very pulpy science fiction, Flash Gordon-ass looking contraption that goes on his head with all these
That's the part I remember about this movie from watching it 20-something years ago.
I don't know, cathode ray tubes and whatever, all that kind of pulpy science fiction stuff sticking out of it. So things kind of get going when one of the children that is stolen by the cult to feed the sky dreams turns out to be the little brother of a carnival strongman named One, played, of course, by Ron Perlman, who is a ginger in this film as well. So he gets hired by this gang of street urchins that's led by conjoined twins called the Octopus.
Okay.
If that gives you any sort of feeling of the tone of the film.
And Perlman's friend gets murdered by someone in that cult, right?
Well, Miette, his friend Miette, who's the little girl he kind of takes a shine to, so I'm assuming that you're referring to. We think that she dies, but she's rescued by a diver.
No, but I thought that he had a friend who was like the ringleader or the leader of the carnival or whatever it is.
Yes.
That got stabbed, and he actually did die.
Yes, he does die. That is kind of sets into motion the way that he.
Yeah.
That's what kind of goes wrong when the gang of street urchins hires him to steal a safe, I believe, and then in the midst of that's when what Todd's referred to happens.
Okay.
Long, convoluted story short, this kind of sets into motion a plot wherein One and Miette, which by the way means crumb in French, infiltrate the compound of the mad scientist, trying to rescue the little brother, whose name I believe is Donry or something like that. And I won't get into everything that happens there because I do. If you haven't seen this movie, watch it. It's great. I think I liked it more upon my rewatch today than I even did in the past. This one checks all the dark fantasy boxes for me, but the one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about most is just the world building and the setting here, because first of all, it's a sumptuous visual feast, as one says. But the world here is not like one you've ever seen before. It's a very surrealist setting. Borrows kind of visually from steampunk, but it's not really steampunk because it's not necessarily set, in a steam-powered future, but it has kind of that look. Borrows really liberally from pulpy science fiction visual tropes, this sort of retro futurist thing, and it ends up being just a very gritty, grimy world in which huge, weird technological things are happening, but it's also imbued with magical fantasy too. So it borrows from science fiction in that you have this contraption that steals dreams and feeds them to this guy's brain, and a disembodied brain floating in a vat. But there's also this very fantastical element too, this fabulous stuff like mind control fleas, that can bite you and then control your eyes, and the scene where one of Miette's tears falls and it sets into motion this Rube Goldberg chain of events. It's just this is a Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful movie. And it's just it's not unsettling in the way that Toombad was, where it's kind of gross and sort of scary, but it's just kind of like edgy and unsettling the whole time. Mm-hmm. And there's a relationship, the relationship between Ron Perlman's character, and Miette, who is a little girl, maybe 9, 10, if that.
Yeah. It's a little uncomfortable at times.
It is. And it doesn't cross any lines. No. It's not like that.
You know what? It reminded me a little bit of one of my favorite films from Bourbon, La Strada, The Relationship.
You mentioned that in your Letterboxd review, yeah. She kind of controls him in some ways. He's not exactly like mute, but he is sort of. He's not a simpleton necessarily, but he is sort of childlike, kind of like Lenny of Mice and Men in some ways.
Well, it sounds like there's elements of like Dr. Moreau.
Definitely.
This and the machinery and other things sound a little bit like Frankenstein, because Frankenstein had that relationship with that, that the big, there's, we've got these fleas are like nanobots, and you got elements of like freaks. Like, so I didn't get to see this one, but I'm like listening to all these things, and I'm like, I'm like,
yeah, you're synthesizing a lot of what it's about.
Yeah.
I'll throw in a dynamic, if you've ever seen or played the video game BioShock, Big Daddy and Little Girl, very much are templated off of the Ron Perlman Miette character.
Yeah, and like I said, it never crosses any lines, and like it ends up being, I guess, kind of innocent, sort of, but like it's such that you're always wondering, oh my God, is this gonna go like where I think it might go, but it doesn't. But it is very it keeps you sort of, unsettled, I guess, and it just that's part and parcel of the movie. So.
And now that I'm thinking about it, a movie that had to have been influenced by this, Poor Things, 2024, the aesthetic of that.
Oh, 100%.
If you haven't seen this movie and you saw Poor Things, the aesthetics are very similar in terms of the combinations of influences, from
Poor
fantasy
Things was
to
stunning,
sci-fiction
so,
and all that stuff. So.
Fun facts?
I don't have any fun facts, but I just do want to say
facts.
I love this movie, and it only increased upon my rewatch today.
Oh, you'll love these fun facts then. Ron Perlman starred as the lead character, One, without knowing how to speak French. He memorized and delivered his entire dialogue phonetically, trusting directors Jean-Paul Genet and Marc Caro to guide his inflections.
The nature of his character makes that possible because he's not very articulate.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah.
It's interesting what an international actor Ron Perlman is. He doesn't really seem that way, and seems like more of a Sopranos type guy or something. I don't know.
No, he's been in this. He's in Hellboy. He's in Kronos. He's in all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
And this is a proof of how masterful I am as host of the show. This will lead directly into Allie's next film. Every single costume in the film's visually wild, steampunk-inspired universe was custom designed by legendary high fashion icon Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So there you have it. Which, as I said, does lead us into Allie's film, which is going to be In Fabric.
In Fabric. So when I was tasked, coming on with the show, not tasked, when I was invited to join the show, and he said dark fantasy. Of course, I'm going for all the obvious ones. He's like, no, it's deep cuts. It's deep cuts. So I just went on a Letterboxd, went through that list of like 100. And the first one I landed on was Donkey Skin, which I actually, after I've seen this one, probably would have fit more into the fantasy. But that would have made every single one of our films a foreign language film that was subtitled. Not that was a part of my decision, but that's an interesting one that I know Shawn
You're dragging
has
us
seen.
back from pretension.
Well, this one's still, it's UK is mine, so it's still no American films in this one. Donkey Skin is one I do think I would want to see. Like it's very much like Disney princess story, except for some reason the dad wants to sleep with his daughter, who's the princess, and they craft this donkey skin to hide him from her.
Hide her from him.
Catherine Deneuve is the lead. So it sounds very interesting. So I'm going to go back. But In Fabric is what I went with, which I do. There are fantasy elements in it because it really is kind of spurred by witchcraft, but it's really a bit more of a comedy, dark horror, because it does pay a lot of homage to giallo films. So it was written and directed by Peter Strickland, and was originally released in 2018 in the UK, and then A24 got a hold of it and released it in 2019 for U.S. distribution rights. The film takes place, and there's a department store where all of the people that work there are dressed in like Victorian garb, like all black.
But this is all set like in the late 70s,
but it's like the late 70s, early 80s
Yeah.
is the time frame.
So they're like
for
at a
this.
Belk or something.
And it's I think that's called the most trusted department store.
Okay.
And they've just, and you're always in the background. You're always seeing the commercials and the advertisements for it. Very hypnotic. And basically, what happens is there's a divorcee who's trying to move on with her life. She's got a date. She goes in to get a dress, and she gets the sales lady, Ms. Luckmore, approaches her and really kind of talks her into this particular dress. And it's this red wrap dress. It's very flattering. It's very lovely, but it is cursed. So it turns out the model that modeled it ended up getting run over and killed by a herd of zebras. This woman wears it.
What a way to die.
I know, right?
What a way to go.
And throughout this, there's 4 people. We don't see the first one, but there's 3 people that basically become the victim of this dress. Well, actually more than 4 if we really get to the end. So that you put on the dress, you feel lovely. It's very flattering. It's very beautiful, and the costume designer did a great job of making a very flattering, lovely dress that looks good on everybody. And so after you wear it the first time, you get this mark on your chest. So it marks you, basically, what happens first. And then basically the dress just goes out to kill you. They put it in the washing machine to wash it. The washing machine gets destroyed. A dog attacks the woman. She has the dress on her, and the dog, I still don't understand why she has the dress when they're out for a walk. But the dog attacks her, shreds the dress, and the next day the dress is fully intact. And then later on, she's met this man. She's going out to meet him, and these mannequins from the store show up on this dark road, and she freaks out, thinks it's people, goes off the road and gets killed. And the whole time, the dress is like floating in the air above. So the dress is like this entity. But then it flashes back to the department store where the sales clerk is, and the sales clerk's there doing rituals. There's one they've got and it's a mannequin, but basically they are cleansing the mannequin. They're giving it a sponge bath. Well, turns out when they pull the underwear down, it has full anatomy. And the creepy store manager guy is girl parts. It's got a full bush. It's got a vagina, and the vagina is leaking blood. And there's part of that giallo thing. The blood in this is very bright cherry red, very kind of saturated.
And the
color
shopkeepers
palette.
are like diddling this mannequin. Meanwhile,
the shop manager guy is in the
warlock
corner
is just like,
oh no, he's fully jerking
Yeah,
off
yeah.
watching. And it's like, okay, well that's happening. So, and then they show the shopkeeper doing this ritual, which you can see is in turn relating to the dress acting on its own. So it goes on, and she gets in the car accident, she dies, and then the dress ends up at a thrift store. Some guys buy it for the stag party for their friend, and they make him wear it.
Okay.
The strangest stag party I've ever seen in my life. It's
Yeah.
basically a
it's like
physical.
his birthday or something.
I thought it was a bachelor party.
But he had
Whatever it was, they're basically beating him up, like they're making him wear the dress,
weird.
humiliating him, kicking. But anyway, he wakes
Boys
up.
will be
He's got the
boys.
mark.
Yes, exactly.
The dress ends up in his closet. His wife ends up wearing it, and she supposedly is a heavier. She didn't look heavy to me, but I am biased, because she's like, "How does a 36 fit me?" And she's kind of obsessed with that. So she wears it. She ends up with the mark, and eventually, what happens is and there's a couple weird things that are happening. So we've all seen Office Space. Remember the Bobs?
Oh yeah.
I still don't understand their role in the overarch of the show, but she works for a bank, the divorcee, and the Bobs are in basically talking to her about her job, and it's completely that relationship. And later on, the washing machine repairman, for some reason, ends up in the bank, and they're talking to him too. And it's like, I don't fully. They seem to be a vehicle for that person to describe these dreams they're having because of the dress.
Yes, they're all talking about their dreams.
Well, if it's borrowing from Giallo, like one of the hallmarks of Italian horror is that it doesn't always make narrative sense. So maybe it's borrowing
that was just an
that
interesting
too.
little foil with like these guys are around for.
Well, the one thing I learned about that character is that nothing drops the panties like an autistic guy talking about washing machines.
Apparently, so when he starts talking about the washing machine repair, whoever he's talking to gets hypnotized.
Yeah, he goes
happened
into
to
like
some
this
woman happened to his
kind of
he's just talking
thing.
and they're focusing in on his lips like really really
and
tight.
they're getting like turned on. And the
whoever's in
guys
room is
too,
just
though.
like,
The Bobs too are like
they're
really
just
mesmerized.
It's like, what is happening? So he ends up. So he's basically watching a extended commercial for the department store as you see the flames in their furnace go from blue to orange, which basically means there's carbon monoxide. So he dies from carbon monoxide poisoning. His fiance is at the department store wearing the red dress, but she wants another dress, and when she tries on that dress, it basically scoots itself out of the dressing room. A fight ends up happening in the department store, and there's a big riot, and someone picks up the dress and hangs it up, and it falls onto a heater right outside the dressing room, and the entire department store goes up in flames. But the final shot, or the final action, so that shopkeep woman, there's this big dumbwaiter that she goes into apparently every night. She takes off her wig, and she grabs one of the mannequins' torsos, climbs into the dumbwaiter, and goes down. And as you're going down, you see the 4 people that have been killed by this dress at sewing machines making the dress.
Whoa.
But they've got one arm out, and you've got this line of red coming from here going into the machine. The idea is that their blood is being turned into the thread to make the dress.
Yeah.
So
This sounds so much better than another cursed item of clothing movie that I saw not too long ago called Slacks, about a cursed pair of jeans. This sounds way better. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's
was-
a classic premise, though, like Monkey Shines or something, where there's this evil, it's a toy or it's a piece of clothing or something, and then even if you realize that you can't get rid of it, you try to destroy it.
Yeah.
It comes back fully intact.
And that's the actual final shot is a firefighter in the department store walking through all the debris, picking up the fully unharmed, intact red dress.
Yeah.
It's got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's very justified. A 6.1 out of 10 for IMDb. I don't know that it's like in my canon of films, but I do think that it's worth a watch. It's interesting.
I said retail witchcraft. That was
Basically.
my 2-word review. All right, fun facts. Costume designer Joe Thompson was tasked with creating a single red wrap dress that could seamlessly fit and flatter actors and mannequins of completely different body shapes and sizes, from Marianne Jean-Baptiste to Gwendolyn Christie, Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, without looking like a different outfit.
He's tasked with making the dress. He chose the wrap dress style.
Yes. Director Peter Strickland treated the scarlet dress as a biological monster. Sound designers created subtle breathing and heartbeats and whispering textures tucked into the sound effects whenever the silk rustled on screen.
And the music for the whole film was done by Cavern of Antimatter, and I think that it was a good soundtrack, and I think they wove those sound things into it.
Yeah, it's pretty
very well.
Sweet. Todd.
Okay. So my pick is from 2012, a film called Blancanieves, which is, I guess, Spanish for Snow White. It's essentially a retelling of Snow White set in 1920 Seville with a bullfighting backdrop. It is fully silent. It's done as a silent film. Came out a year after The Artist, so might have gotten a little bit overshadowed because of that factor. I actually like it better than The Artist, frankly. It's based off of the Brothers Grimm's fantasy Snow White, of course. Again, it has a bullfighting backdrop. So it is directed by a guy named Pablo Berger. He directed, among other things, but an animated feature called Robot Dreams that came out 2 or 3 years ago and was nominated for Best Animated Feature. It's actually really good. I saw it a couple years ago. It has a cast including Macarena Garcia, who plays the Snow White character, and, a.k.a. Carmen, as I find out, Maribel Verdú,
who incidentally was in Pan's Labyrinth.
Right, who is the evil stepmother in this. Danielle Jimenez Cacho, who plays the father, who is a bullfighter, and this brings us to the beginning of the film, where we see Carmen, a.k.a. Snow White's father, in the bull ring, and he's considered a legend, ends up getting injured by a bull in the ring, and and the nurse who cares for him turns out to be the evil stepmother. He is essentially permanently injured,
and while he's recovering, Mom dies.
Right, correct. Mom dies, so the nurse who becomes the evil stepmother kind of swoops in, takes over. As you would imagine, she kind of puts Carmen off to the side. There are some kind of humorous scenes where she's obviously, there's no hiding the fact that she's not a good person. There are scenes with her doing sort of dominatrix sessions with men and things of this nature. Not very graphically done because it's still in kind of that silent film mode, but eventually she tries to kill Carmen by sending her away, kind of in Snow White fashion, as happens in there. The person who is charged with killing her fails to complete the job.
It was the evil stepmother. It was her paramour that she'd been kind of fooling around with.
Right. Fails to get the job done. And so this band of misfits finds her in Seven Dwarfs fashion, but these are kind of circus freaks in the freaks tradition, essentially.
And she's got amnesia.
Yeah, and she's got amnesia. She doesn't remember who she is, but we find out that she has a talent for bullfighting. She doesn't know why. She doesn't remember her background, but she starts to get famous on the bullfighting circuit, gets approached by a bullfighting agent who convinces her to do this sort of major show back in Seville, which I gather must have been in this framework of this movie, like Yankee Stadium or whatever. If you go and do the bullfighting in the stadium in Seville. So her evil stepmother, who's thought that she's been dead for all these years, realizes that, oh shit, Carmen's still alive. She puts on this black veil, goes to the arena, and gives her the poisoned apple. Snow White, a.k.a. Carmen, eats the poisoned apple and goes unconscious. They think she's dead at first, but she's not. The evil stepmother gets caught. They chase her down, and she gets her just desserts, as it were. Snow White, though, is kind of put on display it seems like the way that it's done is almost like a carnival thing.
Yeah,
where you
it's
have
a sideshow.
It's a sideshow.
Who can wake her from her eternal slumber?
Right, who can wake Snow White up, right?
Well, she's in a glass coffin in the forest in the original.
Yeah, and of course in the Disney version, it's a happy ending, and eventually Snow White gets woken up. Now, I'm not familiar with the Brothers Grimm version. Usually their versions are more darker than the Disney-fied versions that we see. But in this version, no one actually, ends up waking her up, really. The final shot of the film is a single tear dripping down Carmen's face while she is still unconscious, and the film ends. So, of course, I've given spoilers there. But if you know the Snow White,
The one thing that, and I was a little apprehensive about watching this because I have horror bullfighting.
Right. Yeah.
But I watched it anyway, and one thing that caught me about the film is when she has her big fight in Seville. The crowd determines that the bull shall be spared.
Right.
She doesn't have to kill the bull, even though she's clearly won the fight.
Right.
So I don't understand what that means in the big. What does that mean in bullfighting? But it obviously in the film.
Yeah, there's something cultural, I guess, maybe that's.
But in the film, she won clearly, so hands down that she didn't even have to kill the bull.
Right.
And it just kind of saunters off into the corridor and leaves.
Right. Right. But the bull is, though. That's why I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think we're led to believe that it's the bull that ends up killing the evil stepmother. because all the little people who are, her gang, her dwarfs, as it were, go to find and kill the evil stepmother and can't find her, but then she hides in this, what I think must have been the bullpen, to confuse with baseball, but in any case, we see the shadow of the bull go over the evil stepmother, and then she hangs her head, and then that's the last we see of the evil. So we assume the bull takes care of her.
I never until this moment considered that the holding tank for the relief pitchers.
They call it the bullpen because
from bullfighting. Is that our rodeo? Probably.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to some of the other films that we've talked about. It's a simple premise because it is based off of those fairy tales that usually do have kind of that simple premise about.
But in a dark fantasy setting, the creators of the movie reached further back into the Snow White tale.
Yes,
and
we don't have the fairy tale ending.
Right, we kind of grabbed into some of the darker elements of that story.
And the original, Snow White does get rescued by the prince and taken to the castle. It's the stepmother that gets punished. She has to put on red hot iron shoes and dance.
Okay.
Oh, that's
what I expected to happen in this was there was clearly one of the little people that had a true shine for her.
Right.
And I was expecting him to be the one to wake her. And that didn't happen, obviously.
Right.
So as you mentioned, Todd, Pablo Berger conceived and wrote this black and white silent Spanish adaptation of Snow White years before the artist.
Okay, yeah.
Even before it was ever announced. He struggled to get funding for over a decade because studios insisted silent movies were box office suicide, only for the artist to sweep the Oscars right before Blancanieves finished production.
Wow.
So it was kind of like that. It allowed it to move forward.
Yeah.
Despite initial funding hurdles, the movie went on to sweep Spain's Goya Awards, the Spanish version of the Oscars, taking home 10 awards, including Best Film and Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah. I mean, the aesthetics of this film, of course, are leaning heavily on the silent film genre, but also Gothic tropes are kind of used heavily in the film. And then, of course, I'm always a sucker for old school carnival imagery like what we get here. The Seven Dwarfs are reimagined as carnival participants, whatever word you.
When was this made?
2012.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out.
So it was a year after the artist.
I was gonna say I love the score. That kind of alternates
right.
between classical thunder and like flamenco styling.
Yes,
and
it gives you both. So it has the silent flair that you would expect it or want it to have, and then it mixes in kind of the ethnic flamenco flair. Yeah. So
you were just talking about the freak shows and stuff. And when embalming was originally created, there was a huge level of obsession with bringing embalmed bodies out. So it kind of. So this is almost like a little throwback to that as well.
Excellent picture. I'm glad I watched that one. I wouldn't have known about it, except I probably looked at the same list that Allie looked at when I was looking for, one that wasn't an obvious pick for
There's
dark
some great.
fantasy.
So we could do a part 2 to this episode if we wanted. There's some really cool.
And I'll do Donkey Skin.
Yeah, there's some great dark fantasy. All right, so I'm going to do my best not to freaking geek out fanboy over my pick.
I fucking love this movie.
It is one of the. If you follow me on Letterboxd, I do not hand out 5-star ratings haphazardly. This one gets a 5-star rating from me because, in my opinion, it is the perfect marriage between classic fairy tale mythos and modern police procedural dramas. It's almost like the way Silence of the Lambs took, the serial killer horror genre and married it with the police detective story. This one just freaking nails it for me. I'm talking about Border from 2018. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a Swedish film directed by Ali Abbasi. It was released for Cannes in May of 2018. It came out in the U.S. in October. It stars Eva Melander, Eero Milanov, Jorgen Thorsen, Ann Petrin, and Sten Lundgren. Double G's. Tina, a Swedish customs officer with a distinct, heavy physical appearance, possesses an uncanny ability to literally smell human emotions like fear, shame, and guilt. making her remarkably skilled at catching smugglers. Her quiet, isolated life in the woods is upended when she encounters Vor, a stranger traveler who shares her unusual features and whose scent confounds her senses. As a deeply primal bond forms between them, Vor reveals the startling truth about their non-human origins, forcing Tina to confront her true identity in a dark, Scandinavian folklore-drenched story of belonging, betrayal, and morality. I'm going to do my best. I will have a spoiler announcement on this, because anybody who hasn't seen this, I do want you to see it before you watch it, but we'll try to get into it before revealing.
Just say earmuffs and all. Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Joey.
I was just going to say, I don't want to give too much of a spoiler, and this is a movie that one should, as much as possible, go in blind. I knew nothing about it. I just randomly ran across it on some streaming channel or something when I saw it. And for a disturbingly long time, I was watching it with my wife, and we were discussing, and I was like, this is just really great casting, because this actress has a really just distinct look. And then she was like, finally she was like, honey, that's prosthetics.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
But they're really well done prosthetics.
They are really well done. There's some areas on the face that just don't move.
So yeah, you've got this very. Have you ever seen that episode of the X-Files that was banned with the inbreds?
Home.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
It's called
that's
Home.
kind of the look that you're getting out of this person. You're like you're like, you do not fit in with society. But she's working this border control job, and she's like sniffing as people come through, and she's able to detect this one's got liquor bottles. She smells that this person is guilty of something. It turns out they have child pornography on a SIM card on their phone. She is uncanny with her abilities, and her superiors take note of it, and they're like, wow, you're really good at this.
I think one of the most fascinating things about this film is that her appearance leads you to think that she will be judged and ostracized, and she is fully accepted into her society, her family, and her profession.
Yeah.
And I mean,
she does catch
that's
some flack for her appearance, but it's not. Yeah,
but it's there's
For the most part,
that's most
yeah.
of the part, like people like outside, but like it's a but at the same time she knows that she doesn't fit in, and this ultimately to me is a story about finding who your true self is, and then reconciling who that person is with the life you've always led.
Yeah.
And I
Which
think
gets
that's
really complicated.
It gets really complicated because of who she is.
So she's really good at her job.
Yes.
She lives a very humble existence in her home. She shares her house with a roommate who kind of wants to have sex with her from time to time, just because they're both lonely.
I think they were going to be partners. I think they tried.
It just didn't work
she said
out.
it hurt.
Yeah.
So I think that romantic part got pushed to the side, but he still wants to pursue it.
So this guy Vora comes through customs, and they look very similar in terms of their not disfigurement, but their brutish features, and he is carrying some odd things as well, but nothing illegal. It's like insects and spores and weird plants and things, and he gets strip searched. And the guy that's strip searching him comes out, and he's embarrassed. He says, "You should have done the strip search." And she's like, "Why?" "Because he has a vagina." And I'm looking at Todd because Todd's not seen this movie, but all three of us have. And so you have this intrigue that's automatically raised as to what's going on. But while this is happening, you've got some other factors. The father, her father, is old, advanced age. Her mother's passed away.
He supposedly has dementia, and he's in a home.
And she still kind of checks in on him, and that storyline builds as this rest of the film builds. She's got a neighbor who lives nearby who's pregnant or has given birth to a kid recently.
Well, yeah,
no, she's still pregnant. She hasn't had the baby yet. That's right.
Initially, she hasn't had the baby.
And so that plays a part in this movie. These lines are all laid so meticulously, and they all come together so perfectly. Anyway, long story short, to borrow from Todd's phrase, Vor ends up befriending her. He lives in their guest house outside the home, and the two of them begin to become closer and closer.
And through that relationship, she learns about who and what
Yes.
she is.
All right. Spoilers for anybody who doesn't want to know.
You're almost done.
La 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 la.
So they're trolls. And in the classic sense of the fantasy sense of the word, they are trolls. And in true Scandinavian folklore settings, trolls, fairies, what have you, they steal babies and replace them with what are called changelings.
See, I thought that was a fairy. I didn't know that was also
Yeah,
a troll.
trolls are part of the Fae, and so they replace babies with changelings, and the changelings are things that they birth themselves. As he said, they're unfertilized. They just eat and sleep. That's all they do
Until they die.
And so his role in this, as it turns out, with this police procedural that involves a child sex trafficking ring, a baby sex trafficking ring, Vor, because of his hatred of humanity, is freaking swapping out babies for his changelings to get the babies to the sex traffickers, because, as he says, humans are evil, they eat their own, they destroy their own, so why should I stand in their way?
And Tina is confronted, do I embrace who I am with him, or do I stay true to my...
And she's conflicted about this.
About
and so she has a moral crisis and a very important decision to make. It's amazing.
This
I
movie's
I
is
cannot
amazing.
praise this movie enough because they do so many things to keep you kind of guessing, but the reveal happens about at the 3/4 point, but even then it's not fully complete until the end of the film.
Yeah, it's like the last 10 minutes.
But
is
it
when
all
it
plays
comes to a
so
head.
perfectly into fairy folklore, fairy tale folklore. It just is impeccably done. And above and beyond that, the soundtrack should have been on our synth soundtrack episode. That soundtrack is badass. I missed it the first time I watched it. The second time through, I'm just immersed in the sound. It's so freaking good. And yeah, it plays out like this great Law and Order Criminal Intent kind of thing where they have the whole gotcha. I'm surprised there wasn't a dong dong at the end, because when they finally get the noose around, and it all comes together, it's like, yeah, the good guys win. It's so freaking good. I cannot
It is a very
I
good
can't say
movie.
it enough. I really, really like this movie a lot. Anyone else want to add to that?
I can't believe that this movie doesn't have a bigger cachet than it does, and maybe it was huge in Europe or whatever. But like, I don't know. I've never heard anyone talk about it here. I've never heard it, get.
This should be an A24 release.
It is amazing, and it is. Yeah, it's one of my favorite. Like I said, I think it's in my Letterboxd top 4 right now, and
It's
is just,
so good. I'll give you some fun facts that will help back up some of this stuff. To play the customs officer Tina, lead actress Eva Melander had to gain 40 pounds of fat and muscle in under 3 months.
Oh, shit. That's burgers and beer.
On top of that, she sat through 4 hours of silicone prosthetic makeup every day, starting at 2 a.m. before 10-hour shooting days. That sucks. The transformative character design was so staggering that the indie Swedish film earned a nomination for Best Makeup and Hairstyling at the 91st Academy Awards.
Okay, well,
So it did get some
I guess
recognition.
it didn't exactly fly under the radar, but still, it should
Still.
have gotten more flowers.
Yeah, it's something else, man. I thought this movie was so kick-ass. So there we have it. So Todd, you have to go watch this movie.
Yes.
Before you finish listening
No
to
one
this
could
episode.
see me pressing my.
Yeah, Todd
fingers
was
into my
doing
ears.
earmuffs the entire time I gave the spoilers. All right, so that was Dark Fantasy.
Deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Thank you for me adding that. I would be fine to do another episode of this. There's so much more to be
there's
seen.
plenty.
There's plenty to discuss.
This is one of the few times when all 4 movies were bangers.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then
Usually there's at least one that's like in either the so bad it's good category or
and it was another one where the feature segment none of us had seen. It was all a new experience there, so that was cool too. We're going to be back in a few weeks. We're going to do Southern Gothic movies.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
From what you said about the Criterion.
Yeah, Criterion Channel is putting it out in August, as one of their categories, and that kind of inspired me because I realized that there are a lot of films in that list that I've not seen. There are a few that I have, of course.
Some wonderful
Some good stuff.
Night of the Hunter is one of my all-time favorite movies.
I think that we all probably had a good upbringing in Southern literature.
Oh yes, Flannery O'Connor.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I don't think I'm going to be able to be here at this episode, but I would nominate Night of the Hunter.
Night of the Hunter is one of the good ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
So
my
we
all-time
will
favorite.
reconvene and talk about that in due time, and hopefully, Joey, we can rope you in because it might actually be another 3-week delay before we get together again. In the meantime, please rate, review, subscribe, check out our social media presence. We're Cinema Chop Shop everywhere except for Blue Sky and YouTube. We're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast. Thank you for being here, Allie, as our special guest.
Yeah.
Always good for the podcast, this particular
Little
podcast,
estrogen.
to have
Yeah, throw off
Yeah,
that.
what
female
little I have
presence.
left. I'll throw
Well,
it in.
just thanks for throwing off the male gaze.
We could really use a woman's touch
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
Hey, tell your friends that you love them. Love everybody that are close to you, and just remind them of that. And be kind to strangers and do good things for people because we all need it. And remember to watch, shop,
Shop,
retrofit.
retrofit.